And we are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fran and Friends podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I will admonish her as Dr. G. She is from Compassionate Therapy and she's a psychologist by trade. And today, we are going to be talking about quite a few topics. Specifically, we're going to talk about authenticity. Dr. G, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel very honored to be part of this experience. And yes, the topic of authenticity is something that I am excited to explore with you. So
Yay.
thank you
Can
for
you tell
having
the
me.
people? Yeah, you're welcome. Can you tell the people a bit about your background? How'd you get into therapy? Why?
Mm, Thank you. Yes, so I'm a clinical psychologist, founded my own practice, Compassionate Therapy Psychology and Wellness Inc. So I added a component of wellness. Even though I was practicing from that perspective, I decided to add the title or the name to my practice. And I've been practicing for about 15 years. And the reason why I decided to become a psychologist is because I want to help people navigate the challenges in a different way and make the world a better place. That's
Mm,
my goal. And I decided that one person at a time, I know I can't change the world, but the way I saw it is like if I touch that person will impact another and will impact another, and somehow healing can happen.
love that. I love that. You said that you wanted to impact them in a very minute way. How have those conversations um, impacted you as a professional?
Mm. Well, in the space that I hold for people, there is two nervous systems in that space, like we are here right now.
Mm,
And whether we want it or not, we're going to be impacted. So I learn from everybody that I work with,
mm,
um, not just from the clinical perspective, but from the human level. And there's co-regulation going on. There is empathy occurring in the space. There's healing. So it's not just one way. And I recognize that. And I tell people when I work with them, it's not me telling people what to do. It's not me. I don't tell anyone what to do, but I see myself as someone walking along their side in
mm.
their path, supporting them, guiding them. Um, and it does impact me because, in a way, I also have to be in a good space to continue to do what I love.
Mm. That's a lot for a professional because I feel like we come with a lot of baggage.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that is a bit tough to digest sometimes. But you use a specific word, navigate. You help them navigate, and you
Hmm.
identify the different ways that you do that. What are one of the main what are one of the main methods that you use and have used, and can you show us an example of what that might look like when you are working with somebody using that specific method?
Mm. So I use these metaphors when I'm working with people. So let me take you back a little bit because you say we come with a lot of baggage, right? And so a couple of metaphors I utilize with people is we all carry a backpack, all of us, from the moment we are born and even during conception. A lot is happening. There is traumas from previous generations that unfortunately is in our DNA before we are born.
Mm,
So I use the metaphor like we carry this backpack and stuff is put in there from the moment we are born. And then throughout life, we collect things. And sometimes we don't even know what we have in that backpack. So when
mm,
they come into my space, I create a safe space where let's look at it together. What's there? What serves you? What doesn't serve you anymore? And part of it is empowering them to see this doesn't serve me anymore. And even though I'm giving you this explanation, is it takes time because people have been carrying that backpack for a long time. And even though it's heavy, it's like that's all they have. So letting go of some of that can be challenging, right? And that's what I say that navigating the process is meeting people where they are, um, recognizing that some of the stuff we carry, we need to let go and maybe find different ways of coping if that is not serving us anymore.
There is a, like when people are exercising and they do a certain exercise for a long time, their body acclimates to that particular exercise so that it no longer becomes effective. And so a
Mm-hmm.
different approach is needed. And it
Mm-hmm.
sounds very much like that kind of application.
Yes, what we call it is maladaptive coping,
Mm, okay.
right? So if we use that and then eventually causes some discomfort and we keep doing the same thing. Um, so let's look at what sometimes we have to develop to cope with stuff and challenges.
Yeah.
So my practice, in my practice, I focus on seeing the whole person. Okay. Um, Everybody experiences trauma, different levels.
When you
But
say the whole
sometimes
person, Dr. Gomez, what does that mean? The whole person.
the whole person is the body, mind, soul.
Okay.
It's all interconnected. So if someone is feeling, let's say, distress, how is that impacting the body? How is that impacting their sense of self? So that's the whole. And a lot of times people come in with feeling not good enough or feeling like it's here, but it's not impacting my body.
Mm,
And the research actually, as of recent years has shown that it's all interconnected. It's not one
mm,
piece or the other. It's all interconnected. And so I tell people, so let me, with that question, let me show you the other metaphor I use with people is imagining that they come into a space with all their parts, like a puzzle,
mm,
right? And so they, throughout their life, they've been trying to make the puzzle work and they keep
mm,
using parts and trying to make it fit and it doesn't and it's distressful. So together we work in like, how do we find the part that fits? And puzzles have cracks, but then when you put it together, it's a wholeness. So
mm,
that's the idea behind it. When I say seeing the whole person, is helping individuals get to that place where they appreciate all their parts. And we all have parts that we may not be really proud of,
mm.
but it's our part. And how do we embrace every part of us to develop a sense of wholeness?
I love that you brought that up, and I love that you use that analogy because I love puzzles, and I totally can imagine myself taking one of these pieces and trying to fit it into the part that it does not fit into. Like, come on, I
Mhm.
like twisted this thing so many ways, and now there's a tattering that's occurred.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
So, when people do get to that space, like, what kind of state do you find them in that they really need to come to you and help get some navigation experience?
Yeah. It really depends. I had, excuse me a
Sure.
second. Can I mute myself for a second?
Yeah, I can meet
No.
you. Okay.
Um, One of the things is that people come in different stages. Okay. So some of them may be struggling with something major.
Mm,
Some of them may just decided that something is not working and they want to seek support. So, or I had people that come in and say, I'm really struggling with some stuff, went to see my primary care physician and they want to give me medication and I don't want to take medication. I want to find out ways that I can navigate or develop coping skills in a way that is more holistic.
Mm,
And so everybody comes into um, therapy or support in different stages. And what I tell people, so imagine that when you have a physical injury, and that physical injury, let's say it's, I don't know, something like a broken leg, right? And you try to kind of mend it yourself. You
mm,
try to do, you do everything you can. And as time goes on, it starts to get worse and worse. So eventually you decide, I'm going to go see a professional. And during the process, depending how long that went on, it's probably going to hurt a little bit more than it
mm,
did before.
mm,
But it's necessary for the healing.
mm,
Our emotional wounds are not exposed to everybody.
mm,
Sometimes we don't even know how much we are carrying. And so when we go see a professional, they help us see, oh, you've been through this, you've been through that, and all of this is impacting you in a way. And so through the healing process, they're able to develop compassion for themselves, for everything they've been through, and allow for that healing to occur.
mm.
So I use those metaphors because sometimes we're like, but I don't see that, but it's there. Your body's telling you. Our body has the ability to talk to us before we are even aware of it. In the sense, it's like we need to attune to it to notice that.
Mm. How do people know that they're in that cycle of, this thing that they now need to address? Like, are there certain patterns of behavior that they find themselves in? I mean, I know you mentioned the um the broken leg.
Hmm.
What was that called again?
Metaphor.
Yeah, the broken leg metaphor. Are there like certain types of behaviors that they're exhibiting so that they can become more self-aware that, hey, this is a problem?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, um, some people come in because somebody says, you need to talk to somebody. And there's a lot of stigma associated with seeing a professional because
Mm,
the idea, like, oh, I'm crazy, and it's not. If you go see a medical doctor because your leg is broken, that doesn't mean you're crazy. You just need a professional. If you have an emotional wound, you go see a professional because you need some support.
mm,
So, one of the things is that it could be how we relating to others in our life.
mm, 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 mm,
That will be sometimes a lot of times the first thing they come in first, like, yes, I'm, struggling, let's say school, or I'm struggling with my partner. But in the work I do with people, I take into another level and how are you relating to yourself,
mm. Ooh.
right? So we create relationships with everything we do.
Mm,
We have a relationship with work, we have a relationship with friends, with family, but we also have a relationship with ourselves. And that is a very important relationship, the most important, because if we are in a good space, those other relationships can also be healthy if we are taking care of ourselves.
mm,
And so, learning how to show up for ourselves, how to show up for me in every way will put me in a better place to deal with what comes my way.
mm,
And so, a lot of times that's why people come in. It's like often it's something is happening outside them, and the goal is like, well, what's happening within you?
mm, mm. Dr. Gomez, there's so many things that went through my mind just now. I was I was thinking about a miner, like somebody that, back in the days when they were shifting for gold, you know,
Mhm,
how you grab the gravel and all the sediments and put it inside of that funnel to shift out to find some gold. And I feel like
mhm,
the process of therapy helps us to shake out the things that no longer serve us.
mhm,
And
mhm,
you mentioning the interpersonal relationships are very much a heartbeat of how we are internally doing.
Mhm.
Hmm. So earlier we talked about authenticity. How can people become authentic if they don't yet know who they are?
Right. So we live in a society where there are a lot of expectations of us. Often we come from environments that we needed to fit into a box, and or places where we're not accepted.
Hmm.
And this happens a lot in childhood. I mean, you know, children are like parents, and it's not that parents are bad, but it's like, don't stay still, don't do this, don't do that. So children are not able to develop who am I? Can I be me and be accepted?
Mm.
Um, I work with parents and I tell them that what we need to do is create an environment that fits that child, not change our children to fit the environment,
Mm.
because that carries on into adulthood. So then we become adults and we really don't know who we are. So we're navigating the world and like, do I fit here? And we change ourselves to fit into that environment. And we create internal conflict.
Mm.
So we're feeling like it doesn't feel right. And that is the authenticity in us trying to come up. But we really don't know how to do it.
Mm.
Right. And so through the process is like, how do you, back to what I said earlier, that relationship that we develop with ourselves, how do we show up for ourselves? Who
Mm.
am I? What feels right for me?
Mm.
Right. Without forgetting that we are in community. So we also live in a very individualistic environment where like it's me, but that's not reality. Yes,
Mm.
it's important that you are authentic, that you show up for yourself without forgetting that we are interconnected with our community.
Mm.
And we need to create those connections in a healthy way. That's why it starts here, right? Otherwise, unfortunately, we create connections with unhealthy people because we haven't really dug deep and see who am I? What feels right for me?
Mm.
And it's not from a selfish space, it's from a loving space for ourselves.
Mm. The question that you asked about who am I, for those that have been conditioned to not think for themselves because of the collective community, how do they get themselves to that space of authenticity? I mean, they hear that they need to be real with themselves and that they need to give attention to themselves, but how is that when the balance has been so uneven
Mm-hmm.
uh, in that kind of environment?
Mm-hmm. So I mentioned earlier about the sense of wholeness,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what happens is that in that kind of environment, if we were raised or exposed to an environment that often said, what you feel is not right, don't feel that, don't this, it disconnects us from our body.
Mm.
Okay. So it really part of the work is to come back home, come back to our body. Our body senses signals. Our nervous system is sending us signals. It's like, oh, this space is not safe.
Mm.
But because we live in an environment that says, no, don't listen to that. You don't feel that way. Don't whatever. Um, we disconnect. And so we continue saying, like, what do I need to do to fit into this space?
Mm.
So a lot of the work I do in my practice is attuning to the body. When you say, let's say, I don't, an example working with someone, I don't feel that I want to go to the holiday party, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I feel I have to because if I don't, I'm going to upset my mom and I'm going to upset my dad and then they go down the list of noticing who's going to be upset with them and they completely forget about themselves.
Oh,
So an
wow.
example will be like, so as you share all of this, I wonder what do you notice in your body?
Hmm.
And they may say, oh, I feel tense. I feel hot, whatever. And that is your body telling you this is not a safe space.
Hmm.
So how do you honor that that feeling?
How do we honor that feeling, Dr. Gomez? Come on.
Right? It's so part of it is honoring the feeling is accepting what we feel, that emotion. So if it's distress, if it's sadness, if it's anger, really honoring that feeling. There's nothing wrong with emotions. We feel them. It's a natural way of being human.
So do we say, hey, stress, I feel that you're there? Are we addressing that emotion at that particular moment? Or are we holding our body and like, hey, I know you're feeling stressed? Like, what does that look like?
Yes. So it's a process because a lot of times people are like, what are you talking about? What am I supposed to do? Exactly what you're saying. How do I do that? Right. And part of it is really pausing for a moment and noticing where is that tension in your body? And
Mm,
then saying, have you ever felt that before? Because a lot of times this is showing up, but we are so disconnected from it, we don't even know.
mm,
Okay. So it's saying, in this moment, what do you need? Let's take a deep breath.
mm,
Breathing activates our vagus nerve and it brings us into a sense of grounding.
mm,
So, doing some of the basic things like let's breathe. Breath is health. And it may seem like, but I'm breathing. Yes, we're breathing every day. We are alive. But anytime there's tension, almost like a break. It holds us back. There's tension,
mm.
right? And it's being able to release that. It doesn't mean we're going to live a life of no tension or distress. That's part of life. But how do we not store it in our body? How
So
do
we're
we
noticing
attune
that
to?
we stop that breathing.
Yes,
Mm,
yes. And again, it's if we've been in that environment since before birth, it's a process to come back home to our body,
oh, felt
right?
so. Whew. Mm. Thank you, Dr. Gomez, for reminding us to breathe deep, to take a break, to recognize ourselves. This is my show, y'all, so I can do what I want. That felt good. Okay.
And I'm just going to point out what I saw. So you're wiping your eyes.
Hmm.
Okay. Honoring your body is allowing to release what just came up. As
Mm,
you pause for a moment and took a deep breath, whatever tension is there, whatever you were holding on to, your body release.
thank
And
you.
there's no need to find out why am I getting teary eye, why am I feeling emotional. This is just your body telling you this is what I have and this is what I need to release. And
Mm,
that's how we honor it. Our mind wants to know, but why? But why? Um, Sometimes there is no why. And if there is, we don't need to know it. We need to just trust ourselves, trust our body. Our body knows what it needs. And honoring ourselves is being present in that moment.
mm. Thank you for that, Dr. Gomez. Appreciate you holding space. Um, there's something that happened at work where I was talking to someone, and I had said something like, "Oh, I show up every day and I do my best." And I began to cry in the middle of the conversation. And I didn't apologize for crying, but they apologized to me. They were like, well, I'm sorry if I said something that, hurt your feelings. And I said, no, it's a trigger. And I left it at that. And when I left the conversation and went to my car, I realized that the backpack that I was carrying was now being let go because I've always had this uh, backpack of having to be a strong person, a strong woman. But because I'm shifting into another space in my life, I no longer have to carry that sense of masculine strength. I can now carry my feminine energy, which is just as strong, if not stronger. And no shade to the men, but we bring people into this earth. We birth creation. And I feel like that right there alone is a superpower.
Hmm.
So when I realized that, oh, Fran, all these tears that you're letting out, because I was crying for at least like 15, 20 minutes on my way home. I was like, you don't know exactly what it was that you were holding, but you have been crying for the tears, the moments, the situation where you didn't feel safe. But now that you feel safe enough, you trust yourself enough to allow yourself to release these things. This is the reason why you're crying. You don't have to know what those events were, but now your body feels safe enough for you to let go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Safety is key in how we navigate our world. Safety, do we feel safe in the space we are in?
Mm,
Do we feel safe in our body? Do we feel safe at work? Safety it's so important, that sense of safety.
yeah.
And before we can say, I'm now safe, with our mind, our body saying, it doesn't feel safe.
Mm,
And as you describe this, um, when we do the work, we're able to say, oh, that is from when I didn't feel safe before.
mm,
And I see now where I'm at.
mm,
And part of it is allowing the healing to occur,
mm,
right? And so it's how do I feel in this space? And also even learning, do I go into a space where I'm not safe?
mm,
How do I honor myself? So
mhm,
your story, as you share this, being able to connect with the emotion and allow yourself to feel, honor yourself in that moment.
mm,
There is no judgment. What I'm hearing from you, you didn't judge yourself. You didn't say, like, what's wrong with me? And that is a different level of health when you get to that space of, like, what I feel is valid.
mm,
What's coming up right now is valid, and I'm going to honor myself.
mm,
You release the tension from your body, your nervous system gets a break. You're
mm.
almost befriending, in a way, your nervous system,
I
and it
like that.
allows for that release to continue on. Hmm.
Well, I had a whole free therapy session. Thank you, Dr. Gomez. Is there anything else you wanted to share with the community? Oh, wait, I do know that you do have something coming up on February 15th. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
February 15th?
Yes.
You have a vision board workshop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's that? Tell us about it. What's going on? But before you get into the event, but is there anything else you wanted to share with the community?
Yes. So there's been, a lot going on since the beginning of the year, and I know a lot of people have been impacted, perhaps by the fires. We all are impacted by it, whether it is directly or indirectly. As I mentioned earlier, we are in community and we feel for others. So I want to acknowledge what has been going on
Mm,
in our community.
yeah.
Um, Other stuff is happening uh, that is also probably constantly activating our nervous system, and it's probably difficult to really think like, how can I be safe? How can
Mm,
I um, think about having fun or doing things? And we have to be more intentional in doing
mm,
this. It's important to create spaces and moments where we attend to our nervous system, where we connect with nature, we laugh in that moment. We may think like, how could I be feeling this right now if there's so much going on in the world? But that is how we give our nervous system a little break to allow us to continue to find the way of navigating what's coming our way. Also allows for some release of tension and helps our immune system. So help us prevent getting some a cold or any illness. So intentional about attending to your needs. That is the message I want to share. It may not feel right now because like there's so much going on, but it's necessary. Remember, we're creating that relationship with ourselves. We need to honor ourselves and nourish our body and our soul.
mm.
Mhm.
So what Dr. Gomez said in English was, go out and love yourself some way, somehow.
Mm.
So, Dr. Gomez, I would love for you to share with the
Oh,
people about
yes,
your event going on here. I know they probably can't,
yes.
but. Doot, 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 doot.
Yes, so thank you for mentioning that. Yes, so I'm collaborating with a professional that develops or facilitates vision boards. The intention behind it is, again, as I was saying, there's so much going on in our world. Well, this vision board was planned before January 7th when
Mm,
the fires happened, right?
mm,
The idea is to create a space. A lot of times we want to like you're saying, like, how do we do this? How do I um create a space where I can be healthier? Or how do I process? How do I, whatever that may be, that is, how do I do it? So the
mm,
idea behind it is to create a vision board of health, healthy life. And healthy life, as I said, is about yourself, your community, your relationships. So what do you see yourself as healthy for you?
mm.
So the plan is to create, we have this event coming on the 15th in Glendora, and it's for everyone that wants to know, I want to be healthier. I want to have healthier relationships. I want to have a healthier relationship with myself, but where do I start? So it's going
Mhm,
to be guided and it creates a vision. So when we have a vision, we can focus more on like, oh, I can go see that board in this case, and I know where I want to be. Sometimes we carry too much here, and that is just a little bit of support and more specific. Which direction do I want to go?
okay. I like that. I like that. So, for those of you that are looking for information for it, Dr. Gomez, are they going to find it on your website? Because I was looking for the address and I thought it was on here. It's not on here.
Yes, so it's on the website. So once they register, they get the address. So the website is www.drcgomezpsyd.com.
Okay. I was going to ask you where they can find you, but I'm assuming because the same email address, the website address. Yes.
So the location is in Glendora. It's in person for that workshop, and we have other workshops coming up, but that's the one that is in a week from today. And so if they go on the website, they can find out a little bit more information about how to register for that event. We're also, if they bring a friend, there is a discount. If they're students, there is a discount.
Okay.
Again, we're trying to expand this to the community, and our goal. And my goal has always been to create a safe, inclusive space where people feel seen and accepted.
Speaking of personal experience, I love the idea of being in a space where you can feel safe and accepted. And Dr. Gomez really does extend that um, in her conversation amongst those that she's been in contact with. And with that says, Dr. Gomez, I really do appreciate you in the space, sharing your wisdom with us, just dropping all kinds of nuggets of how we can go back to really finding ourselves in very tangible ways through breathing, listening to our body, to reconnect with ourselves, especially coming from environments that may not have been catered to that kind of thinking or that kind of framework. Um, I hope to have you on again sometime in the future. And was there anything else you wanted to share before we end our podcast today?
I just want to say thank you for welcoming me into your space. And I hope that the community finds this information helpful. And thank you for creating this to share with the community, um, and to support them through your authenticity and the realness that you are, and fabulous as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez. All right, everybody, have a great Saturday. And like Dr. Gomez said, reconnect with yourself. Go out in nature. Sign up for the workshop. It's only a week away. All right, everybody. Till the next episode. Have a good day.